Hey everyone, welcome to the Bender2 assembly video. This video features the Heltec V4, but the procedure is pretty much the same for the V3 and the T114. First off, we have to talk batteries. Now, the one-cell version of Bender is just like the original. Pop a battery in, assemble the case, charge it, job done. The 4-cell version of Bender, though, is a little different because the battery box is a parallel battery box. So in the package, you'll get a slip that you'll see states that all negative terminals go to the top of the holder, which is the end where the springs are located. It's really important that you remember this polarity, because if you put them in alternating, you will end up with some magic smoke, which you don't really want. The other thing that's important with the 4-cell holder, again, because it's a parallel holder, you have to use matched capacity cells. So you'll see these cells are all identical. They all have the same capacities, they all have the same maximum voltages, and you have to remember, if you charge via the case itself, they will charge in parallel. So this means that when you first insert them, they all have to have the same voltage, which basically means you need to charge each cell individually to its maximum before you insert them into Bender. So charge all the cells, then put them into the 4-cell holder. Now, the first step is assembling our switch. But before you do that, what I recommend you do is thread the holes here and in the switch support. So basically wind the screws into these holes and into these holes, and then wind them back out. Right, to assemble our switch, I've zoomed in a little so you can see this a bit more closely. So we take our switch support, we take our switch, and notice that the 2 wires are towards the top because that's the on position. And then we press it into our switch support. I'm making this look harder than it actually is because I'm doing this above the camera. Like so. And then you want to take your button. And then note that the dot goes to the top because that's the on position. And then slide the little peg in. And that's our switch ready to go into the front of Bender. To install the switch, we simply take our front cover, slide the switch into position, make sure it's aligned, and then we grab our screwdriver. I'm going to cheat with my electric one, and we wind in the screws. And there's our switch installed. We can now insert our batteries into the battery holder area. Now what you want to make sure you do here is keep these cables under the front edge of the battery case, and then they will slide in like so. Now we can prepare the front half of the case. This involves inserting the blanks to fill the antenna holes that we're not going to use. So I'm going to use this one here. So I now want to take my my blank, drop it, pick it up again, and then insert it into the antenna hole. Now these are a little tight on purpose because we don't want them falling out. So they just press fit in like so. And I'll fill the one at the side as well. Make sure I do this on camera. It's difficult doing this whilst looking down underneath the camera. Like so. So that's that filled and that filled. You now want to take your SMA cable. Make sure you've taken the nuts and bolts off. Now this is much easier than the old Bender because you can pass it in through the back. Get it in position. And put on your washer and nut, spin it on, use the good old tool that I include, and tighten the nut. Now if you have the Heltec GPS module, you can insert that at this point. So connect it to the front, and then it just slides in at the top. You can also add your cable at this point. Let me see which way around did I have this. It was that way around. So that's in position. Right, the next step is getting into the nitty-gritty. We want to pass the front cover through the body with all the cables. Like so. We now want to connect our power cable to the Heltec. Now, first off, ensure your switch is in the off position. And take your Heltec and the connector goes to the top connector, like so. Now at this point, just so that we're handling less pieces, we can actually attach the two halves of Bender together, the front part and the battery box. So what you want to do is make sure that all your cables are passed through first. And then it's just a case of sliding the two halves together. Again, fiddly to do on camera. Like so. Now we want to attach the clamps that securely hold the two parts of Bender together. To do that, we take our clamps. Now note that there's a little arrow indicating what the top is, and so it's the hole to the front, arrow pointing to the top. So that denotes that this goes on this side. And we just take our hex bolt, pass it through the hole, tighten like so. Flip over, do the other side, like so. Now this is where it starts to get a little bit fiddly to connect the final cables, but the first one you want to do is the GPS. Like so. Now I just need to show how the cables for the switch are routed. So on the V3, V4 version, you'll see there's a channel at the bottom of the mount here, and that's basically the cables tuck into that channel down there. Basically, you'll see in a second. So what we want to do is maneuver the board into position and then tuck the power cables into that channel there. And I did say this was a little fiddly, I'm not lying. Like so, and that's it in. Now there's something I forgot to point out at the beginning of the video, which is on the Heltec V4 we remove the screen protector. That's because it makes it too large and because it makes the screen ridiculously dim. So you basically unwind the four little plastic screws, pop the cover off, and then put the screws back in just to hold everything in position. The next step is connecting our IPEX connector to the board. Now you know how fiddly these are, so if I do this first time, it's a miracle. Hey, there you go, miracles happen. Now it's just a case of flipping our cover around, pushing it on, and it's best to clip it in at the switch end first, and then at the other end pops on quite easily, and that's it, we are done.